Thunder.
War
Thunder.
never changes.
Hello there.
In the year 1945, my great-great-grandfather, serving in the army, wondered when he'd get to go home to his wife and the son he'd never seen.
It has been a long time since I last graced the skies of War Thunder, and things have changed quite a bit in my 12-year hiatus from the game. Yeah, not only has there been significant expansion to aircraft trees, but you can now also play as tanks, and ships too technically, but no one plays those. Ground realistic battles though, this is the vision of War Thunder that I always imagined would be possible one day. True combined arms gameplay with players controlling both ground vehicles and aircraft on the same battlefield simultaneously. And let me tell you something, I'm having a blast with it. Well, sometimes at least. It's so nice to have M61 now. Oh god, oh god.
Profanity.
Should have heard him. That's my fault. Oh my god. What the f-
Profanity.
Where the f did that come from? I hear him. Nice. Yeah, we're done. We're done. Yep. God damn it. That's not good. Oh shit.
Profanity.
Nice. Nice. Got fucking lucky there. If we take out his tracks, he won't be able to move. Oh shit. Oh shit. So, is War Thunder worth checking out in 2025? Let's find out. The first thing that stood out to me when I got back in was just how damn good the presentation is. When I look back in my memory and try to remember how this game looked over a decade ago, I remember it looking pretty damn good, but time has a way of distorting how you remember a game's graphics. I can vividly remember playing Ace Combat 4 on my PlayStation 2 for the first time and thinking to myself that this was peak visuals. But if I go back and revisit the game now, well, it holds up, but you can definitely see its age. War Thunder has clearly had some visual overhauls, because with the settings cranked, even by today's standards, it looks absolutely beautiful. The game even features ray tracing now if you run the game in DirectX 12 mode, which even further improves visual fidelity. I was actually running with this on for a bit, but unfortunately, with it enabled, I was running into quite frequent crashes, so I had to disable it. And just to clarify, I only disabled ray tracing, not DirectX 12, and since doing so, I'd say I've had a fairly stable experience. I do occasionally run into odd hangups here and there, but for the most part, things are smooth. Environments, aircraft, and effects all look fantastic. Ground battles are definitely a bit more demanding when it comes to system requirements, but even there, from a performance perspective, it's been overall a great experience. Equally impressive is the sound design. All the different vehicles and weapons sound just as good as they look, with certain weapons having some real oomph to them. Whether you're in the skies or on the ground, the game delivers some really crispy audio. Let's move on from presentation and talk gameplay. Over a decade ago, I put hundreds upon hundreds of hours into War Thunder, and there's a good reason why. I always found the gameplay to be pretty great. Yes, obviously bullshit happens every now and then where you think to yourself something like, oh, the hit detection screwed me, or that plane is OP, or Gaijin has Russian bias, but at the end of the day, the gameplay is good and borderline addictive if you're into games like this, which can be a real problem with the monetization system the game has, which we'll go into a bit later on. Even after all these years, and even at one point getting pretty heavy into full sim air combat games like DCS, the easy to pick up and play, I guess you could call them arcade sim-like controls, strike a great balance of scratching that itch to play something that is sort of realistic, but not too arcadey. After putting in a full day's work, sometimes it's just nice to sit down and blow some shit up without having to worry about donning your track IR and busting out your HOTAS and pedals. Of course, there are people who play War Thunder this way via the Simulator Battles game mode, but the vast majority of folks are found in either the arcade or realistic battle modes where controlling your aircraft via keyboard and mouse aim is all you need to get the job done. This ease of play, combined with the high skill ceiling, is really what makes the game so appealing to me. If I'm just looking for some fast-paced action, I can hop into arcade battles and be in the thick of it in a matter of moments. Or if I'm looking for something that leans a bit closer to realism, I can hop into realistic battles, which happens to be my personal preference whether I'm in the air or on the ground. Having never experienced ground battles in War Thunder, it was naturally what I wanted to try first. So I had to make a big decision. What nation should I play? Well, I started off playing the Americans and did stick with them up until you unlock the first Shermans, but I ended up experimenting with some other nations as well, primarily the Russian and German lines, to try to get a decent feel for the nation's playstyles before deciding which one I really wanted to sink some serious time into. At this point, I'm leaning slightly towards the Germans, but it's still really up in the air. So how are ground battles actually set up? Well, that's going to depend on if you're playing arcade or realistic. Although the differences in ground between arcade and realistic don't seem to be quite as drastic as the difference between the two modes in air battles, and I'm a fan of how it's handled here. Unlike in realistic air battles, you're not limited to one vehicle spawn, which is really nice because it eliminates that bad feeling of, well, I just spent 5 minutes driving across the map to get one tapped and now I need to requeue. Each vehicle is assigned a set value of battle points that's required to spawn, so at a minimum, at least from my experience so far, you'll get at least 2 vehicles to spawn in from your lineup before you're forced back to the hangar. As you work towards capturing points on the map, hopefully racking up a couple of kills or assists along the way, you gain more of these which add to your point pool, allowing you to continue spawning in vehicles. On the contrary, in arcade mode, you're allowed a set number of 3 vehicle spawns per game. Air vehicle spawns are handled differently between the two modes as well. In arcade, air spawns become periodically available and can be accessed by using a hotkey. However, the aircraft that you spawn in, whether it's a fighter, attacker, or bomber, are fixed. You can't choose what you bring in with you. In realistic ground battles though, you simply add whatever aircraft you want to potentially use into your lineup, and if you acquire the necessary battle points, you can spawn them in when you die. You can choose to bring whatever the hell you want for CAS, or close air support. Personally, I've mostly found myself bringing in fighters with small payloads of bombs equipped. I'll try to quickly find targets, offload some ordnance, which has about a 90% chance of missing because my aim with bombs is absolutely abysmal currently, then try to intercept any enemy air support, which I'm at least halfway decent at thanks to my previous time played in ARB. As far as how my actual experience as a new player into ground battles has gone, well, I'd say it's a bit of a roller coaster of emotions, filled with great highs and terrible lows. But most of that is just due to my own inexperience as a player. Things like not knowing where to aim, the difference between different shell types, poor map awareness, not knowing how to properly angle to maximize my tank's armor, you get the idea. Despite all this though, I still occasionally have games where things just happen to work out in my way, and most likely by sheer luck, I'll have a decent game, maybe even topping a scoreboard, and the taste of what that success feels like is enough to pull me back in for more. And I just gotta say, there's something that's so satisfying about watching these little graphics in the upper right hand corner that show exactly where and how your rounds are penetrating, or sometimes not penetrating. Learning exactly where to shoot different enemy tanks to exploit their weak points is a huge part of ground gameplay. Thankfully, the game has a built-in tool that's incredibly useful for helping in this matter: protection analysis. Using protection analysis, you're able to preview any vehicle that you may come up against and simulate how different shells damage them. The tool is pretty robust and allows you to simulate shots from any possible angle, as well as adjust distances, so if there's a particular tank that you're having trouble dealing with, you can hop in here and mess around a bit to see exactly where you need to target them in order to get penetrating shots. You may just find that that seemingly invincible tank that you're getting stomped on by repeatedly has some pretty glaring weak points, like maybe a driver's hatch or a machine gun port. Taking knowledge that you gain in here and then applying it in actual battles feels extremely rewarding. And if you do decide to give ground battles a try, this is something you absolutely should take advantage of. As frustrating as it can sometimes be when you feel like your opponents are just mopping the floor with you repeatedly, which is something that you will most likely run into if you're a new player to realistic ground battles, those great games where you gain a shit ton of research points to upgrade your vehicles and move further up the tech tree, unlocking better and better tanks, it sort of makes it all worth it. And as you play more and more, gaining better map and vehicle knowledge, and generally just start to improve overall, the game becomes an absolute blast to play. At least, that's been my experience in the lower ranks so far. Now, this could change once I move up the ranks and further down the tech tree, but for now, I'm genuinely enjoying my time in Ground RB. It's been a fun experience, and combined arms gameplay like this is what I'd always dreamed of seeing one day in War Thunder. I can't help but wonder if modes like this will be further expanded upon in the future, with there maybe being a way to combine air, ground, and sea all onto one single battlefield. Before we move on, I'm excited to announce a brand new partnership with Apex Gaming PCs. With custom-built PCs available in different configurations at various price points, they're sure to have an option for any gamer out there, especially when you factor in their affordable and flexible financing options. Whether you're on a budget and opting for the entry-grade Apex Bronze, or looking to dominate your competition with the Streamer Plus, you can rest easy knowing that your investment is protected by the Apex Standard 2-year parts and lifetime labor warranty. For a limited time, you can use my 5% discount code JARBO at checkout when purchasing. See link in the video description below. Now, tanks are fun and all, but we gotta talk about air battles for a moment, because after all, it's where my experience with this game all began. Clearly, there have been some advances in the tech tree since I last played. The F-86 and MiG-15, both of which used to go blow for the position of best jet in War Thunder, are clearly not the top dogs anymore. Yeah, the game has fucking F-16s now. I can't comment on what the state of play is like for the highest tiers in the game currently, because quite simply, I just haven't reached them yet. I may give them a go one day, but I honestly don't even know if I'm interested. When I play Air RB battles, I'm playing because I enjoy the feeling of getting up close and personal and using guns to take down my opponent. I just don't know if I would find the modern stuff to be as appealing. I could be wrong, maybe it's the most fun you can have in the game, but for now, I'll probably just stick to props. But anyways, aside from the advancements in the tech trees and the quite large number of new aircraft and countries that have been added, air realistic battles feel pretty much the same as I remember. Obviously, there's been a ton of tuning to different flight models and weapon performance, but the overall experience is remarkably similar to how I remember it. You take off from your runway, or spawn in the air, depending on your aircraft, and make your way towards the enemy team. If you're playing as an American, you'll probably spend a good chunk of your time side climbing to try and have a hope of getting an energy advantage on your opponents, while in the meantime, half your team dives after giving up their energy diving on the first ground attack aircraft they see. Yeah, some things never change. Although I did recently discover the P-51H, which sort of negates the whole need to side climb thing for American teams. Holy shit, is this thing strong? It might just be the best prop fighter in the entire game. I think the real appeal of Air RB though is the skill ceiling. The difference between a new player and someone who has a good chunk of experience is astronomical. Enough so that you could put a brand new player in an aircraft that's many tiers above one being flown by someone with experience, and that new player wouldn't stand a chance. There's a ton that can be learned about maneuvering, tactics, aircraft energy states, different types of fighters, etc., and it can all be applied and benefited from in combat. It's a great feeling to go from being that person that can't get a single kill and just immediately gets shot down, to topping the leaderboards and carrying your team. Moving through the various countries' tech trees and trying out all the different aircraft is sort of just icing on the cake. Now, before we conclude, I have to address one huge issue: the game's monetization system. The game isn't necessarily pay to win, but it's certainly pay to progress. If you aren't willing to shell out the $15 or so a month it costs to play on a premium account, progressing is going to take you a long time, especially if you're attempting to get to the very highest tiers of vehicles. Now personally, I don't think paying for premium is a huge deal. There have been many MMOs in the past that have happily paid the $15 a month or so for to participate in. The issue though is that it doesn't stop there. You'll find ways to spend real-world cash all over the place, whether it's to unlock a top-tier premium aircraft, which can easily be $50 or more, or to progress research or unlock plane parts. If you're the type of person that maybe doesn't have the best self-control and has some disposable income, it would be very easy to sink hundreds upon hundreds of dollars into the game. Now, for a lot of people, this isn't an issue and they can just play the game to have fun.
Oh, you crazy!
But for others, this game could be a real problem, whether it be by consuming your life for the grind or spending money you don't have. If you're gonna play, I would advise going for premium, but I wouldn't recommend going much past that. It can be a slippery slope, friend. Let me know your thoughts on the game down below, and if you'd be interested in more War Thunder content in the future. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time.